Lebanon, your home country, schooled in the United States, clearly smart, went to university in Texas, read history. How did you get involved with the sex porn industry?
I don't think low self-esteem discriminates against anyone. It doesn't matter if you come from a great family or if you come from a not so great background. I struggled my entire childhood with weight, and I never felt attractive or worthy of male attention. And suddenly, my first year of college, I start losing all this weight from making small changes. And by the time I graduated, I was ready to make a bigger difference.
Lebanon, your home country.
I felt extremely self-conscious about my breasts because that was the first thing to go when I lost all the weight. I lost about 50 pounds. I don't know how many kilos that is, or stones.
Physically.
Completely.
Yeah.
So my biggest insecurity was my breasts. So I wanted to more or less go back to what they normally were. And once I did that, I started garnering all of this attention from men, and I was never used to it. And I felt like unless I held on to it and kind of did what was asked of me or what was expected of me, it would go away. And after feeling what it was like, that validation and, you know, the compliments for the first time, I did not want that to go away. I felt that's not how it was. It wasn't just, hey, do you want to come do porn? It was more so, oh, you're beautiful. Like, would you like to do some modeling? Oh, you know, you have a great body. Like, I think you'd be great in nude modeling. Things like that. And after I came and toured the studio, you know, it was very respectable. It was a gorgeous location. It was in Miami, in Doral, Florida. It was clean. Everyone who worked there was nice. All of their cubicles were decorated with family photos. Like, it was nothing dodgy or that made me uncomfortable. And after the first time I went in wasn't the first time I filmed a porn movie. I filmed a porn movie. It was the second time. The first time was more so, do you want to do this? Like, sign the paperwork, etc., etc.
So these guys, they just saw you, frankly, as a money machine.
Absolutely.
But you still had no advisors, you had no lawyer, you had no nothing. So
what 21-year-old has a lawyer on retainer?
I'm just trying to get my head around how stressful this must have been.
Yes, and I think it kicks in mostly when I go out in public, because the stares I get, I feel like people can see through my clothes, and it brings me deep shame. It makes me feel like I lost all right to my privacy, which I did, because I'm one Google search away.
Yeah, and those images you cannot expunge. You have no right, even though it is deeply personal to you, you have no right to remove them from anybody's view around the world. It is very hard. And I'm just thinking, this story is your story, but frankly, it's also the story of other porn actors and actresses.
I honestly started seeing that.
You were wearing the
to have sex.
Did you in your heart know this is going to be a disaster for me?
It didn't hit until I think the next day, because the adrenaline was still very high, but immediately after it was released, it shattered my entire world. The reason I thought it was okay for me to do porn was because I thought no one would ever find out about it. There's millions of girls who film themselves having sex and do things like that, and no one knows their name, no one knows who they are, no one recognizes them. So I wanted to do it as my dirty little secret, but it blew up in my face.
It really did. I mean, it was now known throughout the world as the porn star who wore hijab.
Yeah.
And you got threats.
Oh yeah. From I'm not going to say ISIS because I don't think anyone heavily involved in ISIS has a Twitter. They photoshopped a picture of
Imagine how alone you must have felt.
completely alienated by not just the world, but my family and the people around me. I mean, I just realized some mistakes aren't forgivable, but time heals all wounds and things are getting better now.
Things are changing.
They photoshopped.
You were paid a grand total for all the 12 sex videos you made. You were paid a grand total of $12,000 US. And yet you made millions and millions of dollars for both Bang Bros, the company that you worked with, and Pornhub, the aggregating site. How could that be?
That's just how it is. I'm not the only one who was singled out by this. It's not like I had a terrible contract or a terrible manager. Not that I didn't have a manager or an agent.
At all?
No.
No advisors, nothing at all?
No.
And you were 21, you were barely out of childhood, frankly.
Yeah. No. I mean, the human brain doesn't fully develop until the age of 25. So like my decision-making part of my brain still needed forming. There was no one to tell me what to do or to say this is wrong.
You were...
I wouldn't say very quick because I was still nervous. I didn't know whether... I didn't know how they would react to it. I actually called them all in to a meeting about a month later and sat them down, and I had a resignation letter waiting in front of every single one of their chairs. And I spoke to them about my feelings, and they tried to convince me to stay, and they told me this will all blow over and that I'm overreacting.
Here you sit. We are 5 years later. How much personal responsibility do you feel you have to take for what you did?
100%. I made the decision. Granted, the industry is flawed, and you know, we need to do something to protect other girls from falling into the same trap that I did, but at the end of the day, it was my choice. I mean, everyone watches porn. Have you ever watched porn in your entire life?
In my entire life, I have watched porn.
See, I think what needs to change is the way women are brought into porn. Whether, you know, change being allowed to approach them, make it so that only women can seek it instead of being kind of pressured into it, or make it so you can't force them to sign a contract right in front of you, right there on the spot. It has to be looked over by a lawyer, and you know, if that's too extreme, maybe even they have to take a few days to think about it and read it over at home on their own time before they sign it. I mean, everyone watches porn. Have you ever watched porn in your entire life?
In my